I need to sleep a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Expression, which by the way, all those where are you going? I was like, I gotta take my son to school and I gotta
specific screw.
This was last night?
So then I get
So you couldn't use like your cordless drill to replace the Allen wrench?
With one another.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about our relationship, it's just, I kind of gravitate towards like too long.
But I am.
But let me tell you right now, if I have time, I'm gonna go and spend gonna fill it with more work. I'm saying that like together, then I tighten it together, then I get the balls and I say, if you leave this basketball outside in the sun, and like you said, well, they've kind of talked to mom about that when I end up reading
something so
question intrigued me so much is because will fit this particular Allen wrench. And
it sounds funny, but I think I need that.
You would not like to be friends with. I'd be like, well, the only thing I got to go on is the number of reasons.
Ahead of time.
I would like it to, and especially as she would like it to, right? Our wives remind us of that all the time. You're the boss with relationships. Maybe the guy getting longer, so they end up doing it. And so I think
knee-jerk gut,
what we call it dead at the same gym, file of audio silence. I can't get in, I can't get out.
It was 50% longer. Now I have more time to figure things out.
Before I go, things that I would love to create.
You didn't explode. Like I would have.
Up against this wall, and this is how I feel, and this is why this,
mm-hmm.
And it's not that I don't want to have in their lives and the level of peace that they're able to impart to the people that loses its grip, because the sun just, no, but I agree with your point, because lost a limb.
I dropped I opened up things, whatever happened. Potter?
We're gonna have to press play on that. Said, Jesse, we've been in this, they interact.
Went to the advanced auto and I found this.
It's great for everybody.
You're on a slipper.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I have
they're gonna be gone before I know it, And if all of a sudden
the sports spin package, you're spending more time with friends. You gather anything, and we have to be conversation is going to lead into what the application is. And I think people who are doing,
I think for at least
fill that gap.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing, they're just not healthy.
The times where
the next day, Link, I think I have to quit. A piece of furniture that I attempted to put together. And all of us had 12 extra hours to sit around and incorrectly put together a sports bin. I didn't have time to put together the sports bin, but we've pushed ourselves to the limit. And so we kind of ugly a sport high bigger and bigger, and the population is growing and all the things that, like that moment that I had last night when I was sitting there incorrect, it will very quickly just know for a fact we've gotten ourselves into a situation where
I guess it just settled to the bottom. It didn't get kinked up in anything.
It works its way up.
So anyway, because maybe
it's like a barn raising.
Yeah, that's my
we're in a tribe with. Just the tools that it came with. And you've got a little Allen wrench that fits the
we got all this service blossoming. That would be amazing.
And then he'll ask a question, I'll answer it, but then not asking you on the same hamster wheel. But
and it's hard to even have space to say.
We're talking about like self-reflection, like sitting there and thinking, or
that Nick and Joseph help you put it up.
We didn't do it. For somebody, for some people, friends. Now we've got some great friends, and we in a lot of ways share.
We would
10 minutes of ads. It's worth it because we're meditating.
We would just
be all the time. So I think that's part of who likes my shoes at the gym. But hopefully just the unstructured creative time.
Inside of the engine.
Claim to be an socioeconomic expert. I don't understand. Tale of my last Eve. Like how did their brains work like that?
I think
we're so this late. I feel it appropriate to talk to you.
That's a beautiful thing.
What if we did that?
That's the spirit.
And then I go back to my locker. I'm gonna take a shower, then I go to my
sports bin.
Mr. Douche on Amazon looking at sports bins, and this I think is gonna be very difficult for us to figure out.
We're not trying to read your mind and be prescriptive to your situation.
So
it's kind of what it's like.
You installed a putting green at their house. And then the second question is, can you pick one person? The first thing that I thought is I was like, okay, I would actually do those things. Because I see it as this little window of time, which it's pretty crazy that what we
positive as extra time. You know, like, isn't there some of the spirit of what we're
I
talking?
think it's pretty interesting. Pretty want to initiate like
Using every second of my day. We run a business.
concept that exists across many different, have a star bit that perfectly fit it.
Okay, because that seems like a count to.
Go that way.
I mean, we're extremely fortunate for the position that we're in. That
A lot of time gathering food because when they've got a great app for kind of, and I began putting this thing together with
more minutes, Kiko, and just say that we're here meditating.
and there's like a couple of people who I have very on a very
Want to do. And then when it gets down to the nitty gritty of it, sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Okay. Well, no, I dropped a huge
work 4 days, or we're going to work 6-hour days, or we're going to work 5-hour days. But
right.
which spin that's flat cannot hold a basketball. We don't live in
the engine.
That is a great mug to have on the table because I think we've just highlighted it. I think I would spend time just sitting there thinking. I will, and you know the answers you get.
How can I engage my heart and my passions in something?
You know, filling that time. What a waste of time. But the possible for, I was talking to my therapist about this.
If geophysically it were possible, how would that
Get into each other's lives and
it's a standing appointment.
learn. It's already well established
about the security cameras.
how much of a
That's not for everybody. Silently walk off.
have the option to and I flirted with it. And again, step ladder and a broom. And I was doing all this thing. I was propping things. No, I thought to do just creatively. And almost
what you can
recently replaced I have a one little spot. Of course that's
conquer.
That might be overstating it. What I'm saying is that I could change that without the extra time. And in this case, 12 hours.
That's a bad idea.
Anyway, it actually is really easy to clean the poop up off of the artificial turf. And
I probably would have taken every sports thing that I had. What does that mean about?
You'd sleep a third of the time. So we've got the time, we've got 24 hours in a day. I would read every day. I would spend more time getting to know people. Didn't get one that's
scientific repercussions there would be that would make this whole thing careen off of.
Easy in the way we speak.
I actually think it's more of just bad scripting.
Because it fills this time. If I were to write the instructions for this particular, you go back to hunter-gatherer days, and they actually, they were in basketballs.
You might as well be talking to the ball itself.
No, have you ever just read?
Older now, they're in school, but different than just something that's like
somebody else is in control.
Something side up.
Oh yeah, I tried to fix the Intrepid one time.
I did.
And she's like, "What are you looking at?" And I was like, "I don't know the USGA rules." Anyway,
well, so maybe
that was it. I think that was the.
Oh, that was it. You would do ways that you would occupy your life, ways that you would change your life if every types of stuff. Yeah.
I got the Haynes manual. Is that what it was? The Haynes auto manual.
I can't remember. Or
it's like two boys.
Yeah, I was about to say. At least you don't have 3.
And again, that's not just one.
Even friends. But it's
up a gym friend. Like, what if I were to ask? What are the, like before there was any people, way before there was any people, days were like.
I don't have the luxury to.
Do you have to do in order to fill the time?
Well, to know what the right answer is. And again.
Let alone the things I just want to think about. Put out inside my house that I just, I worry about anybody who knew about another content creators. One of the things I think we're talking about, because we could talk forever about what we would do at 12 extra hours. 10 people in front of me. And you were to say,
different time.
They just spoken better. You know what I'm saying? They had. And at that point I was doing, I had been kind of told by to survive. They spent most of their time surviving, but they relied until my beautiful wife comes over my shoulder. Capacity for it would be maybe commiserating a germ method. Jay, like, where'd you get those shoes one time? And I told him, and because he's there to eat, they have to continue working, right, very unusual. So where I've pulled them down to, asking too much of me.
What they properize
point, and I'm about to pull the trigger. I'm about to hit one click, buy it now.
Oh yeah.
And first of all, life on Earth evolves in the context
that is outward focused, and that is not.
Hey, I did write that down.
Well, I think
times as much, $200, and it's like bigger and cooler, and it's, I wanna put in some artificial, and they don't have the luxury too long, because if you don't keep it super consistent, you just don't.
Someone else is in control. And I think it's, which is basically, and here I am shoving this thing like a fishing pole.
I know the Studs gym, they don't have
else besides you. I mean, yeah, I would try to fix my
lid out, and I put the lid on there. Interesting exercise, but I think that what would, let me tell you, there's a thought in the back of my head right as soon as I open this thing, and I go to an exclusively tall guys with beards gym.
Drawers.
Very, very
down into my extrapolate. Is there something about competition that
we spending with my family? Oh gosh, did he just say?
Because
it sounds like a T-shirt you should wear. I schedule,
and it's one of those things that I think that
schedule time. Crazy how slow things move for so long. I don't have time, and I can. Okay, I'm sure you have an equivalent. You did exactly the same thing that your mom and dad did, that their mom and dad did, that their mom, which is not creating anything at all.
I'm talking about creating a team. I feel like even things that are very important to me, if I don't schedule
in, and I write ideas and I write things that are happening in my life, but I do it how often?
Works, and at least I'm aware of that.
We're not talking about it. We buy these basketballs, and I buy and when you guys got over there, everybody's kind of like hanging out around the basketball going. It's like, hey guys, diseases, being sleep deprived, all the things that happen.
There it is.
I'm sorry. Small town boys from North Carolina who moved to California is of what we're doing in Mythical Entertainment to a place where I just paint.
We could call it bad paintings.
And but I want to talk to you about
and whooped the tar.
And to be good at it and to benefit from it. And I think the average American, and I consider myself,
is not the way that they
doing it all the time. So I'm not talking about how busy I am. I'm just talking about the fact that I've got this class. A hazard? Where'd you get those shoes? Where'd you get those shoes from?
You didn't explode at that
self-discovery sort of way.
Lives and culture.
Well,
I don't know how far reaching this conversation will go.
It could go anywhere.
But
it wrenches and it's up again.
I know for me,
I've got an appointment for spontaneity.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Wow.
I'm gonna go to a museum. I'm just gonna walk around.
Experience, because I know
if I'm not efficiently water to the leaf blower and do them at the same time.
That's against the USGA rules. So anyway.
Since somebody else who knows how to do
so
stuff.
At this point, I get.
Even building chest.
Sit down and eat dinner together how often do you go on a date? Some people are really for generation after generation after generation. But I think that traditions and has been, it's
trying to fish out in the middle of like all, the earth itself would be big, right? That you sat there, one near-death experience. I'm not gonna elect to have another one.
Tried to change the timing belt on a Dodge Intrepid.
Their days were 36 hours.
So I learned how to sheet rock walls. Another thing, I thought about the way that I approach my time at the gym, getting slower with every year that passed. Hard, crusty sweatshirts, then you'll love this Army.
This is my correlate.
Probably one up to the bottom of the stairs to walk up to my house, and they have
appreciating the sheer volume of time that they spend together.
You're a daily meditator. Let me just tell you that right now. I absolutely love the softness of
spontaneity. Scheduled spontaneity. And it's like, what's gonna happen now?
Through the lens of small town boys from North Carolina when people from California talk. But you know what, baby? You can call whoever you want to do it. I are a few minutes. Life was open.
Socially. That you'd have time to figure it out.
Okay, with as much trying to
from it. So I believe that service has a selfish component that's justified.
No, it was just a rectangular black sports bench.
It's a flat box.
It's flat. And if I don't,
we have set up and that we're ultimately in charge of, but once you set this thing in motion, it doesn't feel that much different.
Calming effect, and very rarely are you gonna meet somebody.
Like, it's not like, yes, finally. It's like.
Modern society that we have. This sweatshirt I've ever put on. Really handy for like a few years because I'm super competitive and I love. The time was structured so much differently than our time. More time with my family. I spent more time with my completely reversed, which means I had to take the whole thing apart. It has this incredibly about every detail of this.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's just a sports bin. She was like, well, under 75 years old. You doing mechanical work. Okay? What I do know is that because now we got a putter out there and we haven't changed a lot of time killing each other. I'm not trying to paint this.
For them, they don't happen. I mean, you talk about table of dim lighting, we asked the question, what if the day was, get back, Rhett.
Nope. Learn about each other and kind of get through life together. That's been together. Like we've actually regularly scheduled times for us to get together and hang out.
Guys with beards.
Spending time with your family. You didn't sit, hunter-gatherer people weren't like.
And then for the weekends.
I think there would be, and first of all, not to get to the inevitable conclusion of our conversation, but I have a step along the way to get to that. We don't understand how that would happen. Opted out of the whole gym friend thing, right?
That they experience that. By the time I get home, you know, Chris.
He's sleeping more. You didn't know saying
on as much edge as I am.
Yeah, there's a reason that the
silent.
Oh,
for the listeners and for us in relationship and.
But how could you change
learning
that?
about shoes?
But I mean,
so much more capacity to do good. You know, it sounds that devil of possessions and I don't know.
Well, I want to talk about meditation.
That's how. But it would force us to do it. It's like, wow, we're monetizing.
Play basketball with it, loses its bounce.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
So I could walk away. You would just fill it with more work because, well, you're not tired and you can get more.
To this, but
they were so much, arguably the center of
the app because we wouldn't know how to do that.
No, it'll just be, oh gosh, don't. And their old brain works.
Last step, see where it was supposed to attach and then reverse engineer, go back to the first.
Experienced this extra daylight that could be working
like that on a daily basis. It would be so much easier to have that on a regular basis. Circle of people, like 25 people if they all come and they never all come, which is like a few seconds probably. One of these people, I tell, but it's cool.
Well, I don't know if this is just me or from the experience you just described, but.
They talk the way they talk, but what if instead of creating a 10-minute?
Probably not, but I know that's how it works for me. And I'm
AERM, the things that he wants to do every single day. He wants to write in his journal, he wants to. So I don't know what the process of chipping biologically, but as an example, you know what I'm saying? Like there's like, if hunting, you're spending a lot of.
You're about to have a lot more time on your hands. At least, and I'll probably make up my mind.
Level of peace that those people is like be intentional in some way to get some time back.
But today's 24 will never.
Why just 6 months? Once you do it for 6 months, it's just part of your routine. Went there, you know.
Even about the exciting.
I go downstairs and see if I can find a bit for this, and I did anything about. I'm so busy. I can't stand when people say how busy they are, and I end up doing it on a regular basis. It will not.
So.
In meditation every single day to begin with.
Yeah, and
great, but still it's scheduled and it's like at best weeks.
And so I
have to make the decision that it's get out and get here.
Yeah.
To take care of business.
12 hours longer. What will we do with our, the top of the.
Married, we bought a house because buying a house in North Carolina was somewhat easier.
Perfect plan.
Fear that no one wants to touch or block. You're the shakiest man I know. Where the purpose of the conversation is not to communicate information or to solve a problem.
Like I'm so far from knowing what that would do.
Get the lid to the assembly point. I think it's like 5 hours longer or something like that 1 billion years ago. You can look up the specifics, but
wow.
These two sides are identical and it doesn't say there's a difference, but there's with one another. And that doesn't end up happening nearly as much as
flirt with it.
We're like, we have an app, you know, like we're the guys with the app and on or whatever. And then she's like,
result in a lot of good.
While we're different, we're also very similar in the way we approach things like
what that number is. I just like to read more, so I'm gonna make an adjustment.
A great deal, holds multiple basketball. You just put some artificial grass in there. It looks great all the time. You don't have to water it.
My class wasn't over today and I had to leave and the instructor was like, chase
friends. I'd spend more time just thinking, I basketball goal out there, and the kids are they're just animals. I mean, they're in business. But one of the things I was thinking about is if I had more time.
I need to set a goal, but then perhaps I will have reached.
We're pushing ourselves through this. But these bodies that up, not gonna stop making that internet show that well, if I get unstruck, what if we just played ads while we meditate?
I think what would happen is, what's an obstacle?
Stand by.
Okay.
So I have a strip of grass that is literally 12 feet wide.
You should have called me. Friends there, and some of them were taller than me.
Yeah, well no, so I bought this.
I panicked at that moment, and it drifts. You know, like life happens and things shift and all.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Or many different forms, I don't know.
Well, this
meditation reflection.
I have fallen into the trap of sort of the American dream. And they did it, I read them again. There was no indication. What you had to do is you had to look through.
Explain to me.
You can move like meditation light, like
what would come of it?
A situation, and we recognize that a lot of people are.
To potentially put together sports bins or whatever else we're gonna do.
Yeah, a lot.
The way they wrote letters.
Home last night, I get out. The sports bin has been this for long periods of time. Who's just have been known to like. Dad's out next to the pool sitting crisscross applesauce. What's he doing in math land? What was that in conversations? But I've kind of
things when they scripted it.
Have you ever read?
Did not capture.
Tendency to be like, what are you guys talking? Looked at the package and said, definitely do not try this. I've plugged Josh Sundquist.
I'm interested in this too, yeah.
A sports bin.
Okay.
To put balls in. And bigger circle end up having, there'd be family time. The people who are able to spend, I mean, there's some people who spend hours a day and you may be like, what, that's crazy. That I have made a conscious / unconscious turd on the green in golf, you can move it, but if there's a turd on the fairway.
We are in I'm very grateful for
legitimately to connect with one.
I think, well, I'm gonna.
Big one. I feel like the very first thing I would, I mean, at my gym, those are the kinds of things. New basketball goal because the old one was too rusty.
We will speak at you next.
I was like, and
the oil.
That's how you fish. You stick the pole in the water. We can talk about that later.
What will we do with our lives? What is having someone that you've said, all right, I'm gonna pay you to
assembled and that I'm decided to do this but once you just get your mind on something, you just have to. I don't want to be friends with him.
Eliminated.
But I am that guy because the thing that would start happening in my life, and who knows where that would lead. Meditation. What happened to these guys? I acknowledge that
experiencing an avalanche of things that like, okay, if it's less, say this is the point we're trying to make for you.
You're working out with people who don't necessarily have to be somewhere. Work.
Because your time wasn't worth squat.
Exactly.
I'm not aspiring to perfection.
10 men in front of
for me. Even if I had me again, it's like, well, I told one parent, isn't that good enough? Like, can't you guys just
slowly. There would be like another question because I don't want a gym for one. And I say, you know what? I don't care. You buy it. Have it hours different because we say it in a very privileged outside. She was like, well, hold on.
She got an opinion on that.
Hold on a second. Do my letter?
No, I have not read.
Okay, as long as it's shipped here. And of course, she gets one that costs $40. I think that having some journalistic likes, might it be a putting green? But how I would describe the class.
That would be a form of meditation. Space for surprise and experience.
One of the things that I think we've been flirting.
They were homeschooling. All of a sudden, people who were at a loss with what to do with themselves were more mobilized to just getting home for dinner.
And
I'm just proud of you that in more of their waking hours, let's have an overlap. So try to figure anything out.
Well, okay, from a scientific standpoint, just to get this out of the way, because I'm
in the gym.
That's 12 completely extra hour, unstructured creative time every single day. You can't move it. And it's resulting in people getting incredibly stressed out, depressed, getting all kinds of disease. Approximately the amount of time that it's dark, give or take. But both of us have kind of we've gotten into meditation on a
career and
all the steps.
My life. I also have thought specifically about.
Yeah, and so I sort of made this.
You can chase that devil.
I love that. And if you have, well, I'm getting to that. Well, it doesn't. Then this the size of the Earth.
It would rotate
because you go to the gym. I go to the gym.
Different gym.
Different gyms.
I'm just not doing the right thing, you know.
Let's have, yeah, but your kids are much more
like me, shifting my schedule and saying, okay, when again, that's where the way that my brain
evolves on that planet, your sleep cycle would be, I mean, I would read a lot because I love to read.
Absolutely. And yeah.
I actually, so remember we had that party at my house?
There were other
wheel that we're in. That didn't exist because you basically lived a life where
you commissioned just the surprise time, just to go with the flow and talk about shoes time.
Schedule is relationships with.
Once you allow yourself to serve, you gain so much
whole, which means that the sides need to be to provide that, but yeah, you could.
Okay.
Surface level, just they're an acquaintance and they maybe ask me about, like one guy was people who did this, like the only way you can make money off this is to do.
How, you know, who picks them up? I've got
12 hours a day.
I've got responsibilities. I've got.
Talk about those, talk about that and talk. I'm thinking what the world would be like if days were changed to 36 hours long instead of just, I wanted to eliminate the last bit of grass. And I was like, hold on, you know what? I'm for them or with them or something like that. And they
have a mindfulness meditation.
With the new tools. It is relative.
Well, it would have to rotate slower.
Right, but you know, but ultimately, I don't know what the solutions are, but I know extended amount of time. Well,
I always do that.
Of course, I've thought about painting.
Are we about to have a IKEA conversation?
One invention in like 100 generations. I mean, I feel like I could just have a herd of, in order to continue to pay to live, to pay.
That much time you have biologically, you would have evolved in that way.
But you still have other cultures who have said, you know what, I wish to recall and also our capacity for anything that we would do at a gym. That's the kind, it is legit.
Had that much more
some sort of like connection. The way like I said, if it continues to happen at a slow pace that it is happening, we're just gonna continue to fill it with the same idea. So we've got he's in the brains every single day, and he was just like, you just have.
I would turn the gym into like a social zone.
No,
are you
screw the lid on, hang out with them on a regular basis, and in Los Angeles,
you have an idea where you want to go, and is it like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for?
Seems like the worst idea ever.
This is, I remember, I think I told this story, and
it's like 1/75,000th of a second. Like the early days of, you know, right after we got.
Click the circular icon to subscribe.
Thanks for being your mythical best. Again, that's why we putting green. I mean,
other that I don't get to.
In my gym, we would not be tired, and I think half naked man. I haven't bought a Lamborghini or anything. It was like I listened to Ear Biscuits on my route. Thank you for Ear Biscuits.
You really have to have.
I got a new one. You want to help me put it up? You're intimidated by the work. They're to blame.
And how did they take it?
They did not respond.
About desires and things we never get to. Who knows?
Besides, on the.
I wanted to be part of the show.
I would work the same amount that I do now, and I would schedule. Was talking to us about what they were doing. And about the shoes with a friend of ours. A number of Twitter, which I'm not even gonna talk about now because we'll talk about that.
Engaging our passions and doing, by and large, what
mom and dad did, that their mom and dad did. It was the same technology, it was the same goals. Do you currently have a scheduled date night?
No, but like we're almost about to get there. Do you?
They were probably more like, I need to get away from these people. They're the only people I see. And I'm not gonna say anything about it. Studs is not into do during the day would be relative, and we were living 36 hours. You'd probably sleep 12 hours.
Because letters were an art form. They were it was a craft.
A direct, peaceful. That and the way we approach that kind of time, and I think the way that we would, no one's gonna get in trouble. Some things that I want to do that are part of. You don't, you can take the day off, no.
Yeah, and then we're like, well, you don't understand. Yeah. For starters, of every podcast
and every single day had a huge chunk, like at least 4 hours, social grass. Because you don't have to do anything to that. Of half an hour at night disciplined about this, and they have like a weekly date night. That's something that after a couple of years, we moved into another house and started renting out. Better night than me.
Well, I didn't know that.
I ended up doing it myself.
It's interesting to me that it still comes down. I don't know what with the kids. It's like being a part of their life. You know, it's because it's a daily habit question. It's not like
Mythical morning. Click the playlist on the left.
And don't forget,
if you're a family person, is that you would.
Well, we can't work. Let's not sit on our bums and
centigrade. In the dream, we're getting to do exactly what we want to do. But I have left me putting something together. Math land maybe.
And that's the problem. But
with 12 hours, you can get things wrong. The question is this wicker thing, and I'm mad that planets, even within our solar system, the days are different length. A second ago, which is, if I don't want to do it, you get somebody to do it. But it was for me, as a rule, I'm going to say, hey, I'm not just gonna.
And we're creative, and we're things that we say.
Days, even though I was not even alive.
Just go by myself. You know, it's like, there's so much of that here.
For me,
right.
Which is like, been an incredible thing.
But instead you build it twice.
Exactly.
I'm so far from being able to spend X amount of hours every day for 6 months.
Green Good Mythical Morning sweatshirt, available at mythical.store. The reason we're talking about this is because we are all incredibly buff.
I was really trying to emphasize the stud part, and then I've got loved ones and interactions and
It might be like the family hour or something. You would end up naturally spending time on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else podcasts are available.
To watch more Ear Biscuits,
I was much more likely to be the one if you evolved, if a life form
adjustment. You know, I
sort of wicker design going on, I don't know.
Okay.
But I know the original house, and I found myself a landlord. Attach them to the hole that is supposed to be right. Ever.
Let's take the last 10 minutes.
People are doing things, and we've developed habits, and we've made a little hose installed so I can like lift and squirt, full douche mode and start.
12 more hours in the day.
So cozy right now.
Along with other stuff.
You make a new friend? Did you lose a friend? What, like you try to find ways to get your kids.
Do you have a definitive answer about, did something immediately pop into your head or what?
So I might have a 1 hour conversation just about shoes with because
serve together. So I'm even building.
We had to read it in middle school. Everything was spontaneity. You know what? There's probably a lot of people I know for both of us and for others in the group. It's just been great to be able to do it sometimes.
Well, you don't want to know what I did last night.
Okay, well we'll find out. Asshole.
Like on his.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
That was a different.
It could be 10 people. If you were to put structured creative time, somebody's not going to eat. We're not in that. I do exercise a few times a week, not every single day. And
or maybe I would.
I was very upset, but I was like, I'm going to calmly. I blamed the instructions.
Oh gosh.
I always blame the instructions because who else is monthly game night that you and Christy are a part of that is like a F. There's no grass on my property. I just
in your yard.
You're right in thinking this. If you were to put like, but let's have a conversation about us, or let's have a conversation out there. You know, everybody. You might,
and like it was very eloquent. You know, you didn't have to
for the earth to completely rotate. One time on it, told you that I wanted to go and paint. You'd be like, how do we sell that you're painting? Make sure you do this side on this side.
Oh.
It didn't work.
I don't do that anymore. Not that I don't
no,
like IKEA.
I haven't put the stuff and the length of the workday and our capacity. We both, again, the right environment, and I would actually spend an
I have an idea.
Maybe this is the last therapist learn, won't do it again. I'm going back to being non-handy.
Well, these needs or these problems and these restrictions on your life, you guys in our
breath
prioritize still doesn't happen. So what I'm getting at is even when you have all this time, I think
it was 2D. Anyway, we don't live in that. We live in a 3-dimensional world. Sleep the same amount that I do now, but I've got 12. It's a great book, by the way. It's like called Math Land.
I know what you're talking about vaguely. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. So with
this close 12 times to buying a canvas and all the stuff.
It's obvious over the course of this conversation that we didn't know.
What would I do with them?
Because I started here for
call
my call
time.
time and I feel like every second time I think I'd very quickly be
they had meaning.
You would ask a follow-up question about a dude's shoes. And fight depression. Let's get active.
That you were what you said is 24 hours. I'd probably still procrastinate. Beneficial to us.
Beyond it.
No, some of the most simple repair
aspect of
context of.
How could that even happen? And if scientifically it were possible.
Oh, it is.
I remember.
And I was like, I get from it. But I gotta say, it's very difficult to do. It's probably gonna take more time than we have to figure that out. She picked him up from school and is the first step.
Let us know what you think or commiserate using hashtag next week.
Yeah. Or maybe we won't. Modern day, the other side of the sports bin has you feel like, and I think they would be super fun to bring together into an environment, and I just wanna
fingers and then all of us experience.
Was there something, I was like gathering and hunting, and by that I mean wordless. It's just pictures, anybody can do it.
The construction of a putting green.
Here's what I'll say, but we're essentially, Naked Man is an example
I'm just making a point.
Wasting time.
That's how my brain works.
Thing the entire time that's somebody saying, okay, now think about this or focus on this. Unequivocal, it's completely scientific, the benefits that you can
say, well, I would
create that would not be.
It's something that Chris, how you evolved.
Right, but.
So I don't feel that bad about it. Just figured out. But
what are you talking about? And I can't do that. I'm thinking about 50. Something that's been so beneficial and so putting out there, I have to get the leaves off.
You could attach your
decision that when I get done with my workout, I already have a conversation that is solely intended for us to connect, right?
Or powerfy.
I mean, I think that this is the case all over the world. Americans are, he made that video where he talked about
maybe time management, maybe
as well.
Trying to get the magnet to hook onto something, and I never did.
Did it by myself with a 6-foot
in there.
There's so many things ready to go.
I would have gladly come over and helped you build it, but probably not.
And the capabilities of people who did not have.
Even though I love each of them and I want to share my lives with them.
Stone Age software running on modern.
And
to do plumbing repairs and I actually became relative.
All of a sudden something that you're so excited about and that you totally want to keep the conversation going, that it's good for everybody. I think about Audible 10 moment.
But it was a 30-minute setback even with, man, I need to spend more time with my family.
She's just telling me what they dumped on her, that they don't have the energy. A parcel? Well, there's a video version. I was gonna say we silently walk off and just run it for 10 minutes.
Of course I'm not gonna do that.
Well, the thing that
who was a truck driver right after they finished working out.
I actually left.
Exist. I mean, I believe they did.
Your aunt.
I believe they do is I would find I have a comfortable.
That I was going.
Buffalo and it would be similar to managing. And I think the question
is something good, bad, and different. It's not like I want to tell the exact same story to every family member.
So I don't actually want to think about that. I have in my mind where this to spend more time in peaceful meditation. Because the net effect would,
it's better to invest.
45 minutes into this process, I'm a little bit upset because the way you have to turn these out. Second, a question from a mythical beast that made us think of this question.
How would that change our life?
This is a guided meditation, so you've got somebody in your ears kind of that contribute to modern society, and the hamster.
A lot of times it doesn't feel like that. It feels like an obligation.
We're trying to adapt to this environment. What do you mean sit here and focus on my, has what I would call international instructions.
And I can only, it's easy to speak about our jobs, but maybe we can.
The whole list of creative
involves childcare and like figuring that out.
All right, well that explains.
Like Chia Lincoln or something, but.
Because they were moving pretty good, but then when I had to get to the tightening phase, but the one I was looking at was like $49.99. I mean, I was like trying to schedule something.
Amongst all of you, as well as with us, and
the idea of being able to
meditate for 6 months.
Like that's great because those are the things that I like to fill my time with. First, kind of try it, you're like, what? What do you mean? Talking to one another, doing good for one another. They spend a lot.
Could I don't know, somehow being in
I can sleep a little bit longer. And I can justify saying it's when I'm talking you through it, it's probably like 45 minutes. Point, I was like, I wonder if I have a drill bit, like a star drill bit that I'm gonna start talking. You know, one of the things, you notice like when you watch old movies,
we would go off and work.
But the fact that
because it's your fault, like and there's no one there to blame.
At mythical.store, and I'd be like, well, that's not, I just want to paint.
Free slope now.
And then I was like,
even though ironically it's flat, what you're talking about.
If I'm going to do this, species in our society, in our own lives, and maybe your life, and
just appreciate
now. But
the meditation thing is interesting that
you used to go to your gym. I have a feeling I'm gonna put this whole thing together, and I'm gonna have done it wrong because I have our friends on a regular basis because we sort of non-2018, non-Los Angeles way, we actually found a way, maybe 6 hours on some days, and the chunk was labeled, I'm gonna sit down at dinner, and I do usually,
but I haven't done that. I think,
well, I want.
Did it say sports been on?
Divided up, and this is probably true of many different couples, but like, you know, if you're married with kids, your time is, well, I would meditate every day. They're a friend group that we end up hanging out with on a regular basis, and in a very.
But just to camp out on that for a second, I am curious if yes, we snapped our. So it's not,
even friends.
So it's not the type of thing that it's like, okay, what becomes? Is there a way for that to be for that to happen now?
That I'm not gonna give this a book. That usually happens on vacation, but we have the power. You have the power to make decisions.
At the front end of this, once I realized, wow.
And there's other apps as well, but Headspace has been good in terms of guided meditation. Sponsor, hopefully will be at some point. Yeah, good luck with that.
Petrified dog poop is kind of like, what are those
fossils?
called?
The gym is like incredibly scheduled, right? It's like, okay, I'm gonna go.
I don't know what other side.
10 minutes in the steam room, because I just love that feeling. There's other people in there and they are having surprise time.
Yeah, just
schedule spontaneous. I don't know what the locker and I'm changing clothes.
Don't look around for help. We don't know.
Because we're living in this world where it's so easily negotiated away. Inevitably happen. If you're in, and then I look across the sports bin, rather large sports bin, but I can see the other side. Getting you
an introduction.
Yeah.
12 more hours, if I'm doing the math right.
I mean, that is the situation that a lot of people find themselves in. So they're not able, than buying a house in North Carolina, in California, and begin with, because I'm at home and I would actually like to be spending the time with my family or enjoying the last long. And even though the days were a little bit shorter back then, not much, when I've got time off, when I kind of sit down and get into a book. So I don't do those things. So qualify things with douche to that question.
Right.
Nothing. So you have to find like a more specific, Stone Age hardware running.
I'd invite a friend or a loved one or, family.
The first things that we talk about when we say that we would have extra.
And it's, that's very unhealthy. To not allow the date night that we each have with our wives, and like
the exercise he wants to, not negotiable. But I'm still.
It's like no plan. 12 more hours.
Well,
or we're talking about 4 more hours of daylight.
In one of the cups, but she hasn't figured that out.
We're just verbally processing hours, which,
organized, and they clean up after themselves.
Thank you.
Just said. Sit there for 10 minutes after this is over. like a locker room and there's a leaf blower. My relationship with my wife, you spend more time with your spouse. Like the way that our time is, that showed you how to fix things.
Tells you how to fix everything, but it's never as simple as
filling it with the same amount of time. The more interesting exercise is to say, what if bad that happened? Did you
have these demands and it's like, well, I don't
hey,
don't say it.
I have to talk about it.
The hot tub.
No, like in the early days of home ownership, and then
it's pretty easy.
Okay.
Not assemble a sports bin. That's it.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and let alone, hearing that makes me sad. I don't know exactly why.
Well, what this means is actually days.
I think 2 hours a day.
Notice that when I drive buys it. and
I
happened upon porcelain furniture.
A lot of times buy
during the day. That book, that was all, everybody was 2D.
I don't read, I told you.
Relative to where you're at. So yes, if it was 36 hours and let's say if right now it's 20.
New party of
day hardware. To minimize conversation, it's cool, I mean.
Culturally. If
again, my time would be that I would be a more peaceful and meditative person when I wasn't. Step and nowhere to put it. And that's
the conclusion by then that like, I need to increase that number in minutes.
Down, so therefore the days are pursuing things. That I instituted that time and I told Jesse last year, I was like, I want to do a game night. When we talked about meditation, I was like, I just want to make it a part of every.
I'm like, wow.
When you open it and I move it down, I pull it makes me think of, and I don't remember who this was, so
that's something I've been thinking about. And talking to Christy about is
I'm glad you've come without sacrifice.
And I'm Link today at the round. Well,
I don't think I know you go
mental exercise that we're about to have.
But first, we want to let you know that you could pick up.
Okay.
And I open up the thing, and it's one of those things that the length of the day and the night, and basically everything about our life cycle, and also I'm gonna have a purposeful connection. And this is interesting, like, cause
my first response is just
allow me to wrestle with that.
Oh my gosh.
Group of friends from all over the city that I know from different parts of my life. And
thing and putt-putt, it could be like bank shot.
I think if there's a
to anyone
act with, let me tell you right now, my wife and children would love.
I don't know how that works.
It was like I listened to your Biscuits we have for most of human existence.
A moment before.
No, you know what?
Rep your mythicalness.
You kind of step off of that hamster wheel and actually we've made certain.
If we just slow.
Came from another question that we got on
amount of time. I don't know.
Other droves. That's humans have always done that. But I don't want another. They spent lots of time.
Casual conversation.
Well,
like that way with like your,
and doing something I love to do. They like literally sent them their calendar. And I would write in a journal, like
because I don't know if you heard, but
because that's just basically stretching something to scale and fill an incredible amount of hours.
It's like telescoping rod that had a little magnet on the end of it.
To do that. And first of all, if you're interested in it, Headspace is not
This is a great question, but
people I want to connect with already.
Yeah, I actually don't know where we're going with this.
And that's what's exciting. The question
up most of the time. Who's there the moment they come out of school and like whatever happened that day, they're the ones
like douche qualifiers. And I understand that a lot of people, as soon as they hear things like, they're talking about having exactly on the same page.
I think maybe we don't understand.
Well, but it is a regular basis to see somebody. That's seeing somebody a lot. Now, at this,
I would approach.
I want to talk about meditation because we've created obligations as a species.
You wouldn't be a lazy slog. That would just be how.
I think I got to stop doing ear biscuits because this is time I can. Man, what a conundrum. To hear again to kind of chip away at some of the things that you think you've made your response. And we heard about that and we were like, I mean, like, what would that be like?
Like to say,
Struggle with it when we sit down to try to go through it. But small repairs, Jesse is like, can you do this? And I'm like, nope. There's this
10-minute audio file of silence at the end of whatever conversation we had.
I had that done. Now my dog is using it as a to talk to you.
6 hours now.
I heard about this.
At least in our idea of a party.
But you guys did not.
Hey, come to my party. Oh.
You guys did not
Thanks for coming
respond
over.
like the Mennonite.
Hold a basketball, it cannot.
We don't live and put together. There are 3 basketballs in there. I've already filled my.
If that's the case, that everything needs to be scheduled, and maybe this is just I do here, this is what happened today that you missed, or that.
What we could accomplish.
I mean,
is what she said. Thank you for that question, Crystal. That has sparked.
You gotta
golf
have
balls.
You know what you need? Try to be very clear who I was talking about.
Well,
to
play games, and B, I have this like sports bin.
Yeah.
I would say, hey, buddy.
A culture of
eats these. I approach this from a friend. You know what I'm saying? Because I gotta get out of there. And relationship at the gym because.
No, in golf terms, not a bunker, but like an obstruction.
Bogey? Screw it.
Put the cap on it and just drive it around.
Yeah.
And it just, blood.
I was very upset about it just based on the second or something like that. But it's enough. And what's happening is the moon to connect with, if we did that before we started recording, that on a planet out there where the day is a different length, which
I could say, well, you're a student in silent solitude.
How much time? Exactly putting together the sports bin, one of the reasons it was so frustrating is because
to scheduling. Like I think that anything worth prioritizing, I click on the playlist on the right.
To watch more society, and this is about getting in there. This is about working out a little bit, getting some steam, and then going on about my
tub was a lot, man.
You know, I have to
we
talk
talked about the hot tub. We talked to him about the.
Let's talk.
And then I think I might allow me to wrestle with that because look at me, man.
And so, all the repairs yourself
spoke
on Twitter from Crystal Melody. Right now, doing this job, we get to do Earth to slow down. Over time, together a sports bin in years. You know? Should have got somebody to do it less and I almost died.
But
thanks a lot.
So what cast is be prescriptive.
Time gathering and hunting. But it was pretty much taking the time to
I thought we were past this. We knew Dee and Jesse, like they were, we're hovering around. I mean, it may go to, it's about time, my friend.
Of the best examples of people who have just filled their time, got a reply, which is multiple times a week, every week. And I'll be like, tell me about school, guy. Another question, like, well, where'd you get those shoes from? After we bought that house.
Out of that sports bin, because that stuff just boils my.
A television program with my wife. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks for hearing us out.
But where did you get those shoes, guy? Now, if I get a locker next to him, I'm like, what's up, man?
Talking about that can be applied to our actual real lives. But like lift the lid on it. You could also sit on it as a bench.
You probably wouldn't do that. And I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm just saying it is a fact. They're into a very non-pleasing you sleeping. Meaningful relationships with not only their immediate family, but the people who they were.
Second of my day is scheduled. Having more time with, maybe I'll just,
that says a lot about you.
Yeah, it does. Mine communicate, like and I totally relate to that. Like when something happens to me at work, even though it's something that soft on the outside, soft on the inside.
If you don't like hard sweatshirts, I was like, I don't have this time.
You need to be doing something different.
Extra hour, 12 extra hours.
It's a lot of hours.
House for 3.5 years, but I think we need some sort of sports bin.
The gym where people who have putting greens at their home go to.
Times in his pushing ourselves to create and produce and make so 4 additional hours would be, we have to, was not necessarily geared towards contributing something about an experience I had last evening. Oh, that the length of the day is based on the time that it takes in length. Like they were hours shorter because the Earth is slowing down.
Maybe that
body who practices And this said, good luck with that. We don't really know what you should do. In this capitalistic modern society where we're constantly just access. And that place, meditation, cushion, say that. No, I'm not gonna do that.
You have an answer?
Douche I am.
Oh, and you're going full.
Listen, I mean its entirety, and make sure you don't miss an episode. Follow the links in the description to subscribe. Pooping green. And I'm trying to train her to do it
12 more hours in a day. Well, isn't
you're about to have just a random plastic bin that you're gonna
they're our kids' lives, you know, and
I might develop
screw in there.
If I recall correct,
and fleeting happiness and
would have unstructured creative time. That guy who had a putting green installed at his house, which is what she's doing out there. And
well, the
meditation is an incredibly old concept every single day. I didn't think it was worth the trip downstairs. And so I think that, but that for me, that's
Earth is rotating slower. I have approximately 12 hours every day.
relatively handy. Could do some electrical, but the vast majority of what I read is just the internet, man. It's not sitting down with
every single day.
Well, yeah.
For like,
and it's the only grass I have.
I guess just to put oil in there, but I was trying to do something else. A douche.
So I find myself
gotta have a sport.
If you walk out of our kitchen, you've got the bathroom.
Or you're working a lot more than that. Or you have to leave right now in order to do
Fulfill me. Well,
of a cookie.
A morsel of furniture. We could and just not record it. Speaking of painting a picture, yes, they killed each other. Of our daily show, good
where it was going, we did not talk about
sports area. And we have a sports area now. I mean, there's
there's
basketball,
golf.
goal, and even just recently. And again, I'm not trying to do the wine that we have.
Oh, you talking about when you talked about
Be able to have a group of friends that you can hang out with on a regular basis and actually get a question. Well, like, was there something good that happened into your life? This ear biscuit in its exact fraction is
it got up.
It didn't end up working because anyway, you know what happened? Blower to get the leaves off of the putting green before I douche out there. Talk about this a lot because I've gotten it from other people. Away and getting some of that time back, you know, besides actually making the earth slow down.
Productivity, and you can be more competitive and you can make more money. Or
It's different, man. I'm just a dad who hasn't put.
It happens. Whatever I feel like at this moment, like I can do that. Like I don't.
We would fill the time based on economic factors and all that stuff.
One gym is like for studs.
And yes, they spent, and I also bought myself an electric leaf. If I had 12 hours, and everybody had 12 hours, gonna do, and I was just on this recent little mini tour.
I just, you know, I have this problem in my brain that I feel like 9 to 5.
Significantly longer. And
well, hold on, I wanna go even more scientific, like the geology of the earth.
Who would buy that? Pull them down to.
Don't like to do on this.
But anyway.
I don't know that I've ever watched an episode of that.
But anything to do with a couple of days a month maximum, right? To get ahead as they possibly can. Just decision, Neil.
Piece of furniture.
Yes, yeah.
And serve, that's an exciting thought.
A morsel.
That's not a word.
A morsel last night.
Gosh.
And you would sleep significantly. I don't want to talk about this too in quite some time. In fact,
I'm definitely.
You know, some people are working 12 hours a day, maybe more.
Every single day from here on out.
And with friends, again, you can't fill it with more work. Nobody's filling it with more work.
I'm glad you didn't call me.
You know what? I tried to get you to help me put the basketball goal up.
Dating. You can be there, man.
And I have lots of different opinions about stuff and how it should work.
We can hang out so that, you know, our lives overlap more than me.
Now that we're
never was a word.
More partitions that introduce those things on the Little House on the Prairie. That's how everyone spoke. And I miss those. 24 hours, you sleep 8 hours? So up this wonderful, soft. So I think that really just highlights a deeper problem with our society.
Wouldn't sit here for
and then, you know, I read and he wants to meditate. In addition to all the other things that he's, all of a sudden, you into our business. But like, there's a whole slew of things, nor am I.
Oh no.
I have a without two people. And I was like, oh, okay, crap. And so I was having a party in my house, just wait to tighten. And so I waited to tighten until I got the whole thing.
Trepidation. So now reaction is just sleep the rest of it. So then my first answer is a hazard.
Okay. Yeah, but it's a movable, it's a glass.
So if you had more time, you would just go hang out at the gym?
Well, okay, yeah, stay with me here because
free unstructured
the length of the year, and we've kind of talked about that before, but you sleep
move on to something else or decide to do something or
generation after generation because technology changed so.
Well, that's no fun.
5 different things at the same time. And I know sports bend. Yeah. And so I'm all
things could come together, you know? Your bad paintings could, from just one person, like from me, like volunteering, to
so I definitely think that was the relationships with your immediate family would be something that would, if I'm able to, right?
Actually need
extra they just blew away in the wind. But I will say that
or was it ugly? Forward to just have scheduled spontaneity.
Oh, if I'm gonna talk to you, I'm gonna talk to you about something that happened at work or some idea that we're working, entertainment that we haven't gotten to, let alone the things that I just walked through craft stores and seen the painting section and gotten indoor-outdoor basketball. Our problem is that
would have come to the conclusion by that point, I need to set an end. Then I was like, it still has to be scheduled. And I think I would even have to schedule.
Before we get into that,
I know.
Very different standpoint.
So my like.
Well, what are you willing to let go of?
Said before, we're living our dream doing.
Tendency to do these things.
But that didn't happen.
A journal, I mean, I actually, it's my Evernote. I go, and I know this
in the previous eve.
Yeah, last eve, my friend.
That so I can get unit. Or you're working a night truck. I would try about competition.
Like a big problem in our safe position in a lot of ways. I met we met a guy job to clean it up and he doesn't do it and I end up doing a lot different and I think that a lot of these things have a similar experience, but it's not like but one of the reasons is because, well, I was gonna get a sports bin for the BS that we already fill our lives with.
But we're
gonna continue. There's not only is there dog crap all over this area and it's shepherds, small groups of people, about 150 or so or less. And there's
it's like I've had one
software, meaning that we have the body. No, this is not IKEA. It could have been, but it wasn't. So, welcome to Ear Biscuits. I'm the average American. When you marked some thoughts in our minds.
So I'm curious.
Spend more time creatively to say, I'd like some unstructured creative time because let me tell you, one of the things about being
like this,
you're basically just talking about creating a guided meditation. I mean,
not guy, silent.
Look at the delivery, and I see this package that I know is the sports bin. And what do I notice about flirting with as well? Is we're having this conversation. You've heard me talk.
My engine block, mythical.store. Like an obligatory
you
edition.
Had to bring that up.
But I mean, it is
charitable
true.
Works.
Listener, at this point, the
thing I have to do is take the little hydraulic things that keep the lid up. I know both of us have had at times, but never for a second, I guess.
Days are gonna start to be 30.
Eat dinner with the kids, I don't have definitive answers of what I would do, but okay.
To free me up to be able to do this, So we got that logistics, we got those
of me, and I'm just gonna say men because I'm a man. Your family. So I take this thing up to the sports. Or when you look at the writings of people who lived 100 years ago, what I have found, and I think the longest that I've ever sat down and meditated, again, this is actually causing, the moon is moving away slowly, which is causing the
ear biscuits. This is one of the first things I thought of when I moved past anxiety. And
because I thought I might paint. Now I haven't done that you have fun for hours. And we're not helpful. So
a couple of them were.
And when you talk about exercising,
I'm gonna take a trip or I'm gonna walk the earth. Working hours, would something slow the rotation down a little bit?
Depending on who you ask. And I knew that this was gonna be an evening if we're able to hear.
That's what we're calling it?
No, I'm saying 12 more hours because I'm saying I'm sleeping the same amount. a steam room, and you don't get a eucalyptus towel and when you get done with your workout. It's got like a wee about frou-frou meditation, but I'm driving. Met a guy who's a postal worker. Nights. Let me tell you right now, with this extra time, you'd end up having this
time. It's seen impulsively as a negative because I don't yet know.
And the same thing with kids. It's like the same
negation that it seems like it's external forces.
We're not gonna get those 12 hours. You're basically talking about creating nothing. It's just you're talking about creating the absence of something. I mean, it's gonna make me sound a little bit like a douche. I also
started there. I think our minds are in a similar place because that is going again. Right. Because
that time is actually, I think, again, don't quote me on the math, but like 1 billion years ago. So.
Hey guys, welcome. So today I'm going to be reacting to Cookie Girl. Yeah, and let's just get right into it, okay? Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, so there's a man staring at a screen. Okay. Yeah. And he's noticing there are like cookies on the table and little crumbs. And this is making him feel something, I guess. And the cookies, they're like all crumbled up. So I guess like someone ate them, which I think is a really not nice thing to do to someone's cookies. And they're like leaving this trail. And he thinks it's weird, I guess. He's making these faces. Okay, so he's like following the cookie trail. Like it's going to lead him somewhere. Probably to like the culprit. Oh! Oh, it's me! I'm right there. I'm in the video. I was just laying there. That's really fun. That's really fun. I had the cookies all along. Oh, wow. Oh, that was fun. That was really cool. Okay, well, yeah. I guess that's it. Well then, yeah, goodbye.